Good evening. Greetings from the Institute of Global Professionals IGP. Greetings from the Institute of Global Professionals IGP. Thank you all for joining us and staying with us till the end. Honorable knowledge seekers, today I am your host for the evening. My name is Premalta. I am from Bangladesh. Dear knowledge seekers, I am proud to be associated with IGP. IGP is a social and ISO certified international educational and training institute. In the last years, we have already served 35 million plus knowledge seekers from 100 plus countries. IGP is internationally recognized and globally accredited. We are connected to more than 450 plus professions and 4,500 plus organizations. Institute of Global Professionals IGP and ISO 9001 2050 and 1002 2080 is the training facility for skill development which was founded in 2020 and is generating competent candidates to meet demand in the global labor market by providing professional qualifications. The Institute of Global Professionals is an educational institute that provides social work globally recognized and reputable. We serve students and community researchers providing holistic social work and education. We believe that it's not effective to increase one's skill just by acquiring formal education, so you provide effective training and consultation to generate proficient generation all over the world. We distribute our services locally, nationally, and internationally to students, job seekers, job holders, and also for learners. Through respective campus location and distance learning platforms, we are an optional and dependable institution. IGP is one of the famous online institutes from all over the world. Our vision is education is not a business product. It's a part of our human right. Based on our vision, we are trying to reach all corners of the world for free webinars, seminars, courses, awards, quiz competition, monitoring, and counseling, etc. On the other side, we are also trying to offer more than 100 premium services for free, like creating our portfolio website. Resume Builder, cover letter, motivation letter, and world knowledge platform for gathering general knowledge which can update all day. Kites learning game website, free courses, converter sites, and many more. We will help to empower you to learn to meet their expectations and dreams and become highly skilled people. We implement several training programs, webinars, and offline online courses for youth and learners by professional trainers, speakers, and coaches. Our sessions are conducted by globally renowned professionals to develop all kinds of youth and to promote the education of their abilities and personalities. Spreading knowledge is crucial for the Institute of Global Professionals. We believe that knowledge is love and light and vision. So we try to understand the needs of today's generation and to serve them with good research and practice methods. We must have a genuine concern for the learners. We represent more diversity, growth, and innovation are required. To lead a session with professionalism, passion, and integrity, IGP members are committed to offering effective, best quality service and continual improvement to individuals who seek information can improve their skill level and value. Before we move to the next, let me remind don't forget to share, tag, and mention your friend in the comment box. Your support is very valuable to us. Thank you. Before we move to the next, let me remind don't forget to share, tag, and mention your friend in the comment box. Your support is very valuable to us. Thank you. Moving to the next, with your continuous support, we have already completed 1,467 webinars successfully. Wow! Moving to the next, with your continuous support, we have already completed 1,476 webinars successfully. Dear IGP speaker, participants, and well-wishers, at this moment, this is a very important message for you all. We changed and designed our website. With www.igp.com, on this website, we have surprises for everyone. Hope you will be benefited. We already launched our website. We already launched our new website where you can find all our previous activities together and with lots of new features. But one strong point is that without an account or login, you can't enjoy our services. So create your account for once with your profile information. Note that with your profile information, you will enjoy all features. With mismatched data, you can't do anything here. From now on, you have to participate in live quiz competition on our website. We replace Slido. You have to join directly on our website. Now you can check all of our previous webinars, 1,420 plus. with verified e-certificate. Now it's easier and time oriented because after this session we will not provide you with any code for certification. You have to take part in one exam. After that, if you pass, you will receive your certificates, otherwise not. But you can take part in one exam unlimited till you pass. If you are an IGP speaker, you can download all our previous certificate, the speakership certificate. If you are a host of IGP, you can download your certificate of graduate. If you are an online quiz competition winner, you can download your certificate of participation. If you are selected for lifetime membership, then you can download certificate of lifetime membership easily. Besides this, if you participate in any work function which organize combined support with IGP, you can download that also. You can instantly prepare and download 50 types of instant certificates from our website within a minute. Certificate of Global Professional Membership, Certificate of Global Influencer during the pandemic, Certificate of Active Knowledge Seeker, Certificate of Social Activities during the pandemic, Certificate of Achievement IGP Knowledge Seeking Comp 2020, Certificate of Achievement IGP Knowledge Seeking Comp 2021, Certificate of Achievement IGP Knowledge Seeking Comp 2022, Certificate of Participation Webinar Series 1, Authentic Assessment in Teaching Learning, Certificate of Participation Webinar Series 2, Teaching English as a Foreign Language and Assessment. Certificate of Participation Webinar Series 3, Digital Classroom Engagement Tools. Certificate of Participation Webinar Series 4, The New Trends in Education. Certificate of Participation Webinar Series 5, Upskilling Organizational Leadership and Managerial Skill. Certificate of Participation Webinar Series 6, Trends and Innovation in Mathematics Education. Certificate of Participation Webinar Series 7, Research Comprehensive Approach. Certificate of Participation Webinar Series 8, Art in Teaching Special Program in the Arts. Certificate of Participation Webinar Series 9, 21st Century Tools in Teaching Mathematics. Certificate of IGP Corporate Ambassador, Certificate of IGP Campus Ambassador, which you can prepare and download in a minute. From now on, you can participate in 1000 plus international level quizzes with verified e-certificates. Teaching tips for teachers, health tips for parents, health tips for teenage, gamification tools for teachers. You can join IGP Albany. You can check out our 50 plus premium services website for free and many more. Dear IGP Valuations, we promised previously but lack of technical issue, we are late sending you on time. This is a great opportunity to collect your previous credentials. We solve all issues from our website. Now you can enroll, reset password, everything. You can check your dashboard for all webinar details. It's a cordial request to you check all buttons and pages on our website. Surely I can say you will be benefited. Thank you, but note that without an account or login, you can't enjoy our services. At present, we are going to start our we are going to start our 1482 program named The Education of Refugee Children. Our today's speaker, our today's speaker is our today's speaker is Ma'am Rania Lamfo Breeze. Hello, ma'am.
Hello, greetings from Greece. Thank you very much for the invitation. I would like to congratulate IGP for the wonderful work that you are doing. It's really amazing and it helps a lot in promoting quality education all around the world. I'm very honored to be a part of this IGP family. Thank you.
Okay, ma'am. Some description about you for our audience.
Okay, I am a global educator, ICT teacher trainer, STEM instructor, international speaker and an author in Greece. I'm working at the Greek Ministry of Education, the Directorate of Educational Technology and Innovation, and also at the Greek Astronomy Space Company, where I am a STEM instructor, and I'm also the founder of several international STEM projects based on Sustainable Development Goals, humanitarian projects.
Thank you,
So,
ma'am. Now stage is yours. You can.
yes, my topic today will be education of refugee children because there are urgent refugee crises all around the world and in Greece also. There are many refugees who are coming to Greece and live for many years and they're facing a lot of challenges. It's interesting to see how we can help the education of these refugee children. So may I share now my presentation? Uh, is it visible now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Can you see also the change of slide?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay. So nowadays we talk about the global displacement crisis. While displacement is not a new phenomenon, the scale of the current crisis is unprecedented because right now there are nearly 100 million people in the world who have been forcibly displaced. And among them, there are many million refugees. We are under the age of 18 years old. So we could say we talk about the highest number of forcibly displaced people since the Second World War. And the root causes are obvious: conflict, violence, climate change, poverty, food insecurity. So people become refugees for several reasons: war, local violence, political persecution, human rights abuses, environmental disasters. And refugees often struggle to receive adequate assistance and remain in a precarious limbo for years, even decades. Refugees and migrants are ordinary people who have been forced to cross boundaries and borders in search of safety for their families. And included in the world's growing displaced population are people who have been driven to seek refuge from long-term conflicts, and such as in Syria or South Sudan. We're going to see about this later. So some interesting key data information: refugee and migrants. The term refugee, according to the Convention of 1951, refugee is someone who, owing to well-founded fear of being persecuted for reasons of race, religion, nationality, or membership, is outside the country of the nationality. When we talk about migrants, there is no universally accepted definition, but according to United Nations Department of Economic and Social Affairs, an international migrant is any person who changes his country or usual residence. And this definition includes people who are moving or who have moved across the national border, regardless of the legal status, duration of the stay abroad, and causes for migration. So migrants may be given a migration status that limits their entitlement and access to health care. However, international law guarantees universal access in line with the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, in particular with Sustainable Development Goal 3, which ensures health lives and promotes well-being for all ages. And the refugee migrants, of course, although they are governed by separate legal frameworks, they're entitled to the same universal human rights and fundamental freedoms as other people. Usually they say that migrants are those who live in home countries, but there are many who are voluntarily. On the other hand, refugees are those who are always flee from war or natural disasters or political persecution. And some interesting key data: more than 1 billion people are on the move globally, about 1 in 8 of the global population. Of this total 280 million people are international migrants, 84 million forcibly displaced. Some of them are refugees, and millions are asylum seekers. And the 35 million were among our children forcibly displaced, and 1 million were born into refugee life. These people, of course, all these people face the challenges of lack of security, lack of access to basic services, to poverty, conflict, environmental degradation, natural disasters. And they face some health status, health problems. We're going to see about this. And social, political, economic exclusion can result, of course, in homelessness, in poverty, exploitation. And what because the impact of the COVID pandemic has made this problem even worse, um, particularly for those who are in irregular situations. So we talk about the health issue, the health vulnerabilities of these people and these children. Refugee migrants are a diverse group. They have a variety of health needs. There are often refugee migrants often come from communities affected, as I said before, by war, conflict, natural disasters. So they undertake long, exhausting journeys with inadequate access to food and water, sanitation, and other basic services, which, of course, increases the risk of communicable diseases, particularly measles and food and waterborne diseases. And they may also be at risk of accidental injuries, hypothermia, burns, or unwanted pregnancy and delivery-related complications in various non-communicable diseases due to the migration experience, restrictive entry, integration policies, and exclusion. Now, refugees and migrants may arrive in the country of destination with poorly controlled, non-communicable diseases, as they did not have a care on the journey, and maternity care is usually a first point of contact with health systems for female refugees and migrants. Refugees and migrants may also be at risk of poor mental health because of traumatic or stressful experiences. Many of them experience also feelings of anxiety, of sadness, hopelessness, or difficulty sleeping, irritability, anger, pains. But for most people, these symptoms or distress improve over time. So, of course, all these are related to um, health, to employment, income, education, housing. All these domains are at risk. So the barriers, we said that refugees and migrants have a variety of different physical and mental health needs shaped by experiences in their countries of origin, the migration journey, their host countries entering integration policies and living and working conditions. So these experiences can increase the vulnerability of refugees and migrants to chronic and infectious diseases. The COVID pandemic has disrupted health services, putting people already in vulnerable situations at increased risk, and this hinders the ability of health systems to respond to their needs. Refugees and migrants remain among the most vulnerable members of society. They face challenges such as xenophobia, we know about this, discrimination, housing working conditions, bad housing working conditions, inadequate or restricted access to mainstream health services. Particularly, migrants or those of in irregular situation are often excluded from national programs for health promotion, disease prevention, treatment and care. And they can also face high user fees, low levels of health literacy, poor cultural competency among health providers, stigma, inadequate interpreting services. So barriers are even greater for people with disabilities. Women and girls may find difficulty in accessing sexual and gender-based violence protection and response services. Refugee and migrant children, especially unaccompanied minors, are more likely to experience traumatic events and stressful situations such as exploitation and abuse and may struggle to access health care. The ability to access health services in humanitarian settings is usually compromised and complicated by shortages of medicines and lack of healthcare facilities. And if we talk about the pandemic, this has brought an increased risk of infection and death for refugees. People on the move may have limited tools to protect themselves, such as social distancing or hand hygiene. Self-isolation are not possible. The pandemic has highlighted the existing inequalities in access, utilization of health services. They have suffered the negative economic impact of lockdowns and travel restrictions. Income loss and healthcare insecurity may have particularly affected labor migrants. They may have also experienced legal and social insecurity caused by the postponement of decisions on migration status or a reduction of employment, legal, administrative services. So I'll talk about the global crisis, and the global refugee crisis has been growing for years. It's essential that countries worldwide bring compassion and raise resources to all incidents of displacement. So the refugee crisis doesn't have to be a crisis. It could be a situation that is solvable if countries around the world have the willpower. We said about the number of displaced people who surpassed 1 million, forcibly displaced people, 100 million for the first time ever. The number of refugees were already at record high even before Ukraine, according to the UN Refugee Agency. Refugees wait an average of 20 years to be resettled and assimilated, and 85% of refugees are hosted in developing countries. While wealthy countries have far more resources to host and assist refugees, the vast majority of refugees worldwide are taken in by developing countries. This is often the result of those who close proximity to crisis zones, meaning refugees end up in these countries after fleeing across the closest borders. But the fact that these host countries don't turn away refugees makes them exceptional compared to developed countries. The case of Turkey hosts the most refugees globally, about 4 million, followed by Colombia, Uganda, Pakistan, Germany. The volume of Turkish refugee population comes usually from Syria, which has suffered from more than a decade of a civil war. Colombia's refugees come largely from Venezuela, Uganda from South Sudan, Pakistan from Afghanistan, and Germany from Syria. And more than 14 million Ukrainians have fled their homes amid the ongoing Russian invasion of the war. Around 6 million have left the country altogether, becoming refugees seeking safety beyond the boundaries of the war. This growing exodus has been met with extraordinary assistance from other countries and humanitarian organizations that are providing food, water, shelter, medical aid, and new building blocks for life. Poland, for instance, is hosting about 3.5 million refugees. The European Union is fast-tracking employment opportunities for Ukrainians, and the United States has vowed to accommodate 100,000 refugees. This rapid move to integrate those people who are displaced by the war has facilitated, of course, has eased, we could say, the suffering of millions of people. But of course, it remains still a big challenge. So we talk about, for instance, Syria. Syria is among over 25% of the total global refugee population, are part of the global diaspora in the wake of the 10-year Syrian crisis. So approximately 7 million Syrians have sought refuge, primarily in Lebanon, Jordan, Iraq, Egypt, and Turkey. In Lebanon, there are no formal camps, which leaves its population of over 1 million Syrians living across 2,000 communities, often overcrowded temporary shelters. Of course, the main root cause here is a civil war, which has left the country in shambles, and also these people are in need of humanitarian assistance. So Syrians who fled the country, who fled this conflict, are currently living in more than 125 countries, but most are settled in neighboring countries, including Turkey, as said before, Lebanon, Jordan. When we talk about Ukraine, Ukraine, we have this, we don't know, this escalated conflict, which led to a full humanitarian crisis, including 5.5 million refugees. Over 60% of the current global refugee population is Ukrainian, and this, of course, the concern began work in Ukraine in 2022 after the beginning of the conflict. There were operations in order to help and to give us humanitarian aid. We talk about Afghanistan. The ongoing humanitarian crisis in Afghanistan consistently makes it one of the top countries of origin for refugees. Roughly 1 in 10 refugees are Afghan by birth. More than 88% of Afghan refugees are hosted in neighboring Pakistan and Iran. Um, and for those Afghans still living in the home country, almost two-thirds are in areas that are directly affected by conflict. If we talk about South Sudan, over 4 million South Sudanese have been forced from their homes, and the world's youngest nation is also the site of one of the largest refugee crises, South Sudan. The Rohingya crisis, also this concern has been there, and together with the UN agencies, there are many, over 130 local, national, international non-profits have supported the government of Bangladesh to adjust to this increase in capacity. So safety security remains serious concern for this period where the informal housing is often destroyed in seasonal floods and fires. Democratic Republic of Congo, this remains one of the world's largest forgotten, we could say, humanitarian crises, with events in a protracted situation rarely making headlines. So this is something that needs to be highlighted. We talk about 900,000 refugees. It's a big number. And Sudan, we can see also Sudan is the fifth largest country of asylum for refugees. It's also a country that is producing an increasing number of refugees. And this is increasing. Somalia, I think the good news is that the number of Somali refugees around the world has declined a bit in recent years. However, the situation nevertheless dire for many. There is a cycle of crisis in Somalia that has been fueled by drought, conflict, hunger. So the country faces a current crisis which could lead to a new famine. And needs also are concerned. So the refugee crisis in Somalia dates back 30 years. Political instability, the civil war that started in the decade of 90s have driven hundreds of thousands of Somalis from their homes. Extreme weather conditions such as drought in the north, abnormally high rainfall in the south and central regions have also significantly impacted the ability of Somalis to secure their livelihoods. And the crisis has been exacerbated by episodes of famine and ongoing conflict. And the drought emergency, as said before, has also intensified. This caused many people to be displaced. Central Sahel, this Sahel encompasses a semi-arid region of Africa, separating the Sahara to the north and tropical savannas to the south. The crisis in the region is concentrated in the Central Sahel, which includes Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso. What are the conditions there? Armed conflict, food insecurity, climate-related challenges, which are coupled with the devastating consequences of the COVID pandemic, have created a severe humanitarian crisis there. Violence, extreme weather conditions, food insecurity at high levels. Yemen, I think we all know about this, of the armed conflict there, the humanitarian and poverty crisis they are facing many years now. Is the worst humanitarian crisis in the world today. The country hosts more than 200,000 refugees from neighboring Somalia and Ethiopia. So the entire food insecurity, inadequate health care, physical danger, the main challenges people from Yemen are facing. So, according to United Nations, two-thirds of the population is on brink of famine, and children are being disproportionately affected. Those people under the age of 5 are at risk of acute malnutrition. Northern Ethiopia, also, there an armed conflict broke out in this region, and they are in an alarming humanitarian crisis there too. The vast majority sheltered in remote areas that have little infrastructure to help them. There's no electricity, poor telecommunications, little access to fuel. Central African Republic, another humanitarian crisis there, the escalation in violence, um, and this has caused the concern of humanitarian organizations to work there. Eritrea also uh, crossed the threshold to 500,000 refugees. So the nearly 14% of the country's population have been displaced due to violence and political instability. There are, however, some global movements, some organizations all around the world are trying to help. We can mention the case of Oxfam, which strives not only to help displaced people with immediate basic needs for clean water, shelter, food, and work, but to advocate for the long-term well-being both in their own nations and in the countries which host them. They help people with immediate needs, they engage with allies and all levels of governments to focus on peace and find sustainable solutions to the conflict and violence that ruin so many lives. They push all the countries to be more responsive to this global crisis, and they advocate for public policies that will protect the rights of displaced families as they strive to rebuild their lives and guarantee their children a better future in their countries or ones in which they settle. So they partner with local organizations to address the reasons people are forced to leave their home. Their community-based solutions, campaigns, tackle sex and gender-based violence, invest in sustainable development, fight corruption and impunity, increase access to justice and call for peace. When we're successful, families are able to stay in their homes and communities. And humanitarian aid, because I said before that millions of people on the move struggle to find clean water, shelter, food, and work. So Oxfam is supporting organizations at the border who defend the legal rights of those seeking protection. When it's necessary, they distribute hygiene kits, food packages, and water installation of portable toilets, showers, etc. And they advocate for policies that protect the world's most vulnerable. They support those who struggle with economic hardship, provide women with the skills to break out of domestic violence situations, support farmers to combat food insecurity, and advocate for governments to implement just and fair fiscal policies. So there they establish also grants a partnership with work organizations. And this is an overview. And now we'd like to talk about what happens here in my country, in Greece, with education of refugee children. What are the challenges and what are the interventions and our policies here? Education, of course, is an instrument of social integration and a means through which we can construct identity. At the same time, education is a tool through which identity, perceptions, and understanding, real or imagined, are developed. So the way that the dominant cultural majority frames educational systems and the values that it propagates through schooling, that would be through methods or curricula, expresses and defines perceptions of our own identity and understandings of the other. So just as it can be inclusive and a vehicle through which we can promote principles of social cohesion, solidarity, and equality, in this way, we can equally propagate prejudice, stereotypes, bias, perceptions of cultural confrontation, superiority or discrimination. Therefore, the challenge for a heterogeneous society is to meet the raise expectations for educational policies. Educational policies that are culturally sensitive, that enhance educational socialization, personal development opportunities for students of all communities. Policies that will be able to respond to the needs of the entire student population. So one of the main challenges that Greek government has been facing is integration into Greek society of all recently arrived refugees and other migrants who remain in the country. Faced with increasing and changing diversity as a result of immigration, Greek society and the state have been called to respond, adapt, and formulate adequate policies through which to manage these transformations. There are, for instance, 120,000 refugees and asylum seekers in Greece, the majority of whom are children and youth, and over 60% of refugees are under the age of 30, More than 5,000 are unaccompanied minors. Some of them are the mainland, some of them are residing in the Greek Aegean islands. And the refugees on the islands are suffering from extremely poor living conditions. So the refugee crisis in the Greek Aegean islands has reached an untenable situation which requires urgent action by the Greek authorities and the international community because their future is precarious, their daily reality is extremely harsh, especially for the most vulnerable women, children, and unaccompanied minors. And to make matters worse, the coronavirus pandemic was threatening to take a hold among a refugee population that has no access to health care. Prior to the spread of the COVID pandemic to Greece, of course, less than a third of school-age refugee children on the islands were not receiving any schooling, even though learning is vital for the welfare of children living in emergency situations. So, 52% of migrant children and 90% displaced children live in low and middle-income countries. In low-middle countries, migrant and displaced children often live in deprived urban areas or slums. Overcrowded camps, settlements, makeshift shelters. And it's interesting to mention that during the COVID pandemic, many migrant displaced children, as I said before, had problem accessing health care. In Marseille, for instance, in France, many unaccompanied minors have been left unprotected before the pandemic as authorities failed to provide care shelter. And also, there was a period that the child protection services have stopped due to the risk posed by the COVID pandemic. More unaccompanied migrant children have been forced to live on the streets or in unsanitary, often overcrowded squads. This was a harsh reality for many children around the world during the COVID pandemic, and also they faced the added risk of being detained by immigration authorities, potentially exposing them to violence, abuse, or exploitation. So during the COVID pandemic, these children were at risk of missing out on accurate public health information due to language barriers, or simply they were cut off from communication networks. So undocumented children living in foreign countries, they may fear contact with public authorities. However, misinformation on the spread of the COVID pandemic also was something that exacerbated xenophobia, discrimination, challenges that I mentioned before. So the impact of the pandemic for children was, of course, socioeconomic pressure that led to increased violence against children, including physical, sexual, emotional, economic violence, abuse, and neglect. Many children were not safe to learn at home. Because of school closure, learners were missing out of the basic elementary education. The pandemic deepened existing inequalities and vulnerabilities, and the use of digital technology were also inexistent. So I think that to say that the education sector is probably one of the most sensitive and politically charged areas of public policy because of its defining role in the identity formation, national cohesion, and national consciousness. It is equally one of the most important sectors in socioeconomic terms since it defines access to the job market, personal economic development. So the question is, how has intercultural education been designed, for instance, in Greece, in response to growing immigration? I said before about these numbers, and I mentioned before, the reality is extremely harsh, and we can mention the National Protection Act frames education as a right and obligation on children seeking asylum in Greece. And this adds children that do not enroll or attend classes because they do not wish to join the education system will face reduction of material reception conditions, while at the same time parents will face the same sanctions applicable to Greek citizens. So the turning point, the date which is important When we talk about refugee education in Greece, it was 2016. Because the Greek Ministry of Education took tangible measures with a view to systematically include refugee children in the national education system, specific frameworks drawn through a combination of all the new legislations and regulations in the form of joint ministerial decisions, specifically targeted refugee children, starting a transitional plan for the school year the 2016-2017, and the full plan for the next year. So the educational system for refugee children contains three features: kindergarten in Greece, including reception identification centers and mainland camps, reception facilities for refugee education, which prepares children living in reception identification centers and mainland camps for regular classes. This consists of afternoon classes on the premises of primary and secondary public schools. There are also what we call reception classes within educational priority zones. These reception classes are addressed to children who lack the necessary Greek language skills to fully integrate into the education system without additional support. And the framework is supplemented by appointment of refugee education coordinators who act as a bridge between the education system and refugee families who living in the reception identification centers in urban areas. So, in the cultural education, experts highlight that the establishment of reception facilities for refugee education pose many challenges because it has created a segregated school for a particular number of students, and they also believe that in many cases, education priority zones have been transformed into a segregated system in practice. It's a long debate; we need time to discuss about it. So the number of refugees, but were also highly geographically concentrated, led to this decision to operate an additional educational program for refugee children in parallel with the reception classes, which operated in Greece over the past years in educational priority zones, in order to complement the educational services to refugees and prepare them for their integration into the Greek education system. So in this context, it was decided in September 2016 to establish and operate reception educational programs, reception facilities for the refugee education for refugee children up to 15 years of age, who either stay in refugee accommodation centers or other types of accommodation. So this special educational program targeted these children and concerns establishment operation of reception preparatory classes for the education of refugees in certain public schools during afternoon hours in the mainland of Greece in areas that are accessible from the various official refugee sites. And these classes are part of the mandatory formal educational system, primary and lower secondary education, which are run by teachers. The teachers are selected from the list of substitute, what we call substitute teachers, of public schools appointed by the Ministry of Education. So they are geared to refugee and migrant children aged 6 to 15 years old who live in the official refugee sites. The aim of this educational program is to facilitate the integration of refugee migrant children into the educational process in a way that should gradually allow them to join mainstream classes in Greek schools. Implementation of the program's first year entailed a weekly education session of 20 hours covering four main subjects: Greek, mathematics, English, information technology. Artistic and sporting activities were also including. If we look at the education statistics, we have seen decreasing enrollment rates. According to data, the number of enrolled refugee children declines. The children's access to education, of course, in 2020, it is not visible here. We talk about the period of the COVID pandemic. Children's access to education was challenged. And during the COVID pandemic, this led to record levels of exclusion of refugee children from the Greek system of education. So the exclusion of refugee children from the Greek education system reached these record levels, and this prompted reactions from across the members of parliament and civil society. Many children have been unable to attend school over a year, while others have never managed to enroll. During the lockdowns, due to the lack of necessary technical infrastructure for online learning at the camps, refugee and asylum-seeking children were further excluded for this education process. Lack of transportation also, understaffing of reception classes, and negativity or reporting reluctance. This is a case also in Greece. The reluctance by some local communities as well as refugee families to the potential of children attending school were also reported, the reported factors which hindered refugee children's access to education for the school year 22-2021. The school year 21-22 was marked by improvements, with 95% of all refugee children being enrolled to school. However, among these children, only 75% were actually attending school in March 2022, it's highlighting a concerning degree of dropouts, which was exacerbated due to the typical living conditions of refugee children. Many children, especially those secondary school, drop out of school. Why? Of course, to find work, mostly in agriculture, and support their families, or they had to take care of their younger siblings for the parents to be able to find work. So in addition, there are cases of rejections of asylum applications, which are creating despair and the lack of hope for a better future, leading to families deprioritizing schooling. And other challenges were also observed this school year. 2 weeks after the start of the school year, children in 16 sites did not attend school, while additional issues hindered children's access to education continue to be reported. There are issues of transportation before, low enrollment rates, lack of teachers in schools, especially in primary education, and in many other challenges in islands. The education framework operates based on annually updated regulations. How this happened, preferably by the end of the school year, parents supply to each school the number of pupils that they wish to enroll for the upcoming school year. The school principal then passes on the figures to the Ministry of Education, which establishes by way of ministerial decision the list of schools operating under these reception classes, education priority zones. Teaching positions are advertised after the list of classes that has been published in the government gazette. In the reviews describe the design of the process as ineffective. Ineffective because it disregards the arrivals of many asylum seekers during or after the summer period. And as a result, this process, the number of classes may have to be adjusted in the course of the school year through an amending ministerial decision in order for additional reception classes to be established and for new teaching positions to be filled. So lessons, there are not so possible because some also substitute teachers reject offers upon receiving the announcement of the location and tasks of their assignment. There are teachers who are often employed part-time or for few hours, so they cannot afford to relocate far from their home. And the process also faces the possibility to nominate alternative teachers for those posts, but this stage could take weeks or even months. So the number of recruited teachers remains insufficient. Many substitute teachers were requested to assist in Greek-speaking classes at the beginning of the school year and never reached the reception classes. As a result, some children enrolled in reception classes in primary public schools this school year, but they can only participate in regular classes without being able to follow or interact with their peers. And furthermore, high turnover among substitute teachers undermines the quality and stability in the education of refugee children. These teachers are selected according to a point system, which does not include criteria such as prior experience in working with refugees, very, very important, with minority groups or in teaching Greek as a second language. Teachers change every year. This is another bad point. There is no procedure allowing teachers to remain in the same position after 1 year, despite their wish to remain. So this is another case. The location of refugee camps poses a challenge to education, even in cases where the necessary infrastructure and human resources have been set in public schools. Means to transport refugee children to the schools may be unavailable or insufficient. So the risks of dropout overlap between these educational priorities and mainstream classes. Barriers in the asylum procedure, also precarious living conditions, I mentioned before, interrupted living, medical examination, vaccinations, we talked about these health problems, health issues, movement restrictions, especially during the COVID pandemic, inaccessible remote learning, and what are the challenges for the new educational structure as it is implemented by the Greek Ministry of Education. Perhaps I think the most, in general, this is not, this concerns all the education of refugee children all around the world. I think this is not restricted to Greece. Perhaps I think the most pressing issue involves the communication between teachers and refugee children, especially when very young children are concerned. Knowledge of the English language should not be taken for granted. This means communication problems and therefore difficulties in transferring knowledge. And a great number of refugee children have not also attended school for several years, since some home countries are at war and everyday routines, including education, were interrupted long ago. Therefore, even more effort is needed to successfully integrate refugee children from war zones into the education system of the host country, especially considering the completely new environment they face. Some children also, due to special circumstances in their home countries, although they are of school age, can never attend school. This means that the integration of such children in the education system is a big challenge. Another case is the lack of books. There are no books and teaching materials suitable for refugee children. In many cases, there seem to be teaching vacancies, or the number of the full-time teaching staff is not sufficient, and in certain cases, vacancies are so severe that some reception classes have not operated at all. And another negative point is that the wage of part-time substitute teachers is too low to enable them to lead a decent life, especially when they're appointed to areas away from home. There are also refugee parents who refuse to allow their children to attend school, especially when they expect to leave Greece soon. Moreover, there could be also cultural reasons that hinder some children from attending school, particularly girls. The number of children also who attend the reception classes is not stable and not given according to school advisors and teachers. Some children quit school and others miss class. So in general, it seems that the school attachment is pretty loose, we could say, which might create additional problems when the time comes for these children to integrate into the formal education system. Refugee children over 15 years of age are more in danger of finding themselves marginalized, since they will soon have to integrate in the labor market without any qualification. Local communities also are often misinformed about the refugee crisis. Some are afraid that refugee children carry diseases, while in practice they are vaccinated before they are sent to school. And also, school advisors are responsible for the scientific and pedagogical guidance of teachers. This means the school advisors have to be trained first. So far, there is no provision regarding either who will train the latter or how the process will be realized. So, what could be some ideas, some recommendations for ideas for interventions? The reaction of the Greek state to the influx of refugee children was to establish and operate, as I said before, this parallel education program in order to smooth the integration of refugee children into the formal education system. Irrespective of whether this was the best way to go, because we already critically examined this current structure and we traced the points that could be improved, we could do the following things, very important. Refugee parents first should be persuaded to allow their children to participate in education. whichever form it takes. Sociologists, psychologists could prove useful also, perhaps through operation of NGOs. Another thing is reception classes should expand further in order to include hotspots on the islands. It is possible for many different reasons for asylum candidates to stay on the islands much longer than expected. And in this case, it would be necessary to encourage children to participate in the education process. Of course, operation within hotspots proves difficult due to the crowding of refugees and special living conditions. Therefore, it might be best to integrate refugee children into these reception classes operating within nearby schools. Efforts also to integrate young children below 5 years old should be reinforced, especially those who attend these reception classes. It would be useful to speed up the integration of refugee children into the local student population the cultural schools that can provide a credible alternative. Um, and what is very important is a wide publicity campaign regarding refugee health issues that could be useful in order to prevent reactions by local communities fueled by ignorance and facilitate the integration of these children to local school units. So with respect to refugees whose asylum applications on their relocation have already been approved and are waiting for the transfer to another country, there are many possibilities to succeed. The Greek state should recognize and operate these reception classes in other languages, in French, for instance, or in German, or any other language than Greek. And this way, Greece could prepare these refugees for their integrations into the destination country. And this have two effects. First of all, refugees would reach a destination country better prepared, and it would take less time to integrate them. And secondly, many jobs could open up in Greece at a time when they're needed most, as it is obvious from the high unemployment rate. There will be also probably important benefits from increasing information about the whole process through the collection and processing of data regarding refugee children and their participation in the education process. The assessment also of these educational outcomes could be an element which could prove useful in making necessary interventions to benefit the children. It is useful to set up special procedures to address unaccompanied refugee children. It is necessary to safeguard teachers' working conditions. Because said before, there are complaints that refer to longer working hours. And the educational process, even if short and preparatory, should involve special books and teaching materials which address the needs of refugee children. To a certain extent, modern technology could compensate for the lack of printed material and possibly attract the attention of young children. Education practices worldwide seem to move towards this the introduction of ICT in everyday school life. And finally, it would be worthwhile to consider the possibility of hiring teachers who speak the language of refugee children, if it's possible, at least the most commonly used language. But it is clear that the availability of teachers with specific qualifications is limited. But given very specific circumstances, it will be best to receive a holistic treatment, perhaps combining accommodation, psychological support, and education. Of course, the Ministry of Education should ensure regular publication of detailed statistics, should ensure smooth and uninterrupted access of refugee children to publication system through prompt recruitment of teaching staff, transport arrangements, prompt establishment of required classes. Segregation in the education system should be prevented, and the public health measures should not be discriminatory. Monitoring evaluation are also important. Financial support also is it's important. There are many formal refugee education who would help Greek refugee children here in Greece. So by concluding, I want to say that education will not address all of the needs of these extremely vulnerable children and youth, but it is essential missing component to help them survive the unacceptable humanitarian conditions they're living in today, to begin to heal and build a better future for themselves. So we believe that the issue of education of students with different linguistic and cultural background is not something that evolves involves only the students who differ culturally and linguistically from the majority. It is something that concerns the whole of education, both at micro level as a social institution and the macro level of the classroom. So thank you very much for your attention. Of course, for any question, I'm here.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your rich content presentation, which can impact our knowledge seekers surely. After your presentation, I hope your knowledge seeker can learn something new, which was our only intention: learn and grow together, IGP knowledge seeker. Once again, thank you so much, dear ma'am, for your presentation. Now, ma'am, it's time for our question and answer session, which is the one more valuable part of our regular webinars. Honorable ma'am, please stay with us. After a short video, we'll be back in our session part 2, which is the question and answer part. Dear IGP knowledge seekers, please ask your questions in the comment box as much as you want to know from our speaker. Thank you. After question and answer, we have both certification and online quiz competition. Dear IGP knowledge seekers, please ask your questions in the comment box as much as you want to know from our speaker. Thank you. After question and answer, we have web certification and online quiz competition. Dear IGP knowledge seekers, please ask your questions in the comment box as much as you want to know from our speaker. Thank you. After question and answer, we have audio certification and online quiz competition. Dear IGP knowledge seekers, please ask your questions in the comment box as much as you want to know from our speaker. Thank you. After question and answer, we have audio certification and online quiz competition. Dear IGP knowledge seekers, we are still waiting for your question. Please ask your question. Dear IGP knowledge seekers, we are still waiting for your question. Please ask your question. Hello, ma'am.
Yes.
I think we are covered all of our topics. I have no question. We have no questions. Then, once again, thank you so much, Honorable Ma'am, for your time in IGP. We have learned a lot from you with new topics. It will add some value to our day-to-day activity along with our academic and professional growth. Honorable Ma'am, hope to see you again with a new topic and new day. Thank you, ma'am. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you very much for this opportunity. See you next month. Thank you.
Honorable ma'am, before we move to the next witness certification process, if you want to leave this studio, you can, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye.
IGP knowledge seekers, it's time for the webinar certification process, the most attractive and powerful part of our regular webinar. After a short video, we'll start our webinar certification. After the webinar certification, we have an online quiz competition and quiz certification. IGP knowledge seekers, it's time for the webinar certification process, the most attractive and powerful part of our regular webinar. After a short video, we'll start our webinar certification. After webinar certification, we have an online quiz competition and quiz certification. Certification Certification process. Certification instruction. Visit www.igp.com. Please make sure your presence on our website. Find a running session and get enrolled after watching or completing part. Video session. Click mark as complete. Move to the next, which is the learning test quiz. Marking part. Mark 80%. If pass, back to the course again to download the certificate. If fail, to retake the quiz. Download your certificate in PDF or JPG. For your attention, I am going to share the procedure again. Visit www.igp.com. Please make sure your presence on our website. Sign up or sign in, find a running session, and get enrolled. After watching or completing part 1 video session, click mark as 80%. If passed, back to the course again to download the certificate. If fail, to retake the quiz, download your certificate in PDF or JPG. Dear RGP knowledge seekers, it's time for the most engaging part of this webinar, which is an online quiz competition, which is our regular webinar activity which changes the process for online live quiz competition. Note that after live, no one can participate. Participation process now. Time for the online quiz competition. To join the online quiz competition properly, please follow my instruction carefully. Now time for the online quiz competition. To join the online quiz competition properly, please follow my instruction carefully. Visit www.igp.com and sign up or sign in. Without this, you can join live quiz competitions anywhere. Browse the live quizzes button or given link. Find the session name and join with your log website or user account. Click join and wait for a few minutes for others to join. Indian online live quiz competition. After the quiz, we will issue our certificates for top 10 as previous quiz you can find on our website and official Facebook page. After a short video, we will start our quiz session. Um, Dear IGP knowledge seekers, we are now start our quiz session. Already 40 people join with us. Now start our quiz. First question is: if children or youth drop out of high school, their eligibility in the migrant education program ends. A true, be false. Correct answer is false. On the leaderboard, first person name is Kingi Isaria Gitulkar. Next question is: EST in 1946 to help governments improve the health and education of children and their mothers. Option is United Nations Happiness Fund, B. United Nations International Children's Emergency Fund. Correct answer is B. United Nations International Children's Emergency Fund. On the leaderboard, first person name is Christina. Next question is the substance of Education Act of 1872 was that education for all children should be a free, compulsory, and second be free, compulsory, and secular. Correct answer is B. Free, compulsory, and secular. On the leaderboard, first person name is Christina. Next question is choose the best definition of migrant used in the migrant education program. A person who moves because of economic necessity. B. A person who moves into one state to another. Correct answer is A person who moves because of economic necessity. On the leaderboard, first person name is Liu Fasonola. Next question is the migrant education program offers what kind of resources for migrant workers? On the correct answer is tutoring. On the leaderboard, first person name is Carmilla. Next question is what was the education for migrant children? A little to none, B lots of education. Correct answer is a little to none. On the leaderboard, first person name is Carmilla. Next question is the migrant education program track the grades and test scores of migrant students. A true, B false. Correct answer is true. On the leaderboard, first person name is Carmilla. Next question is who is the director of migrant education in BCSD? A. Jenny Flores, B. Hillary Clinton. Correct answer is Jenny Flores. On the leaderboard, first person name is Carmilla. Next question is the migrant education program was established by the US Department of Education in 1965 1966. Correct answer is 1966. On the leaderboard, first person name is Carmilla. Next question is what is the average education achievement of migrant farmers? A fifth grade, B eighth grade. Society is 8 grade. On the leaderboard, first person name is Carmilla Vizan. শেষ শেষ Congratulations to our webinar online quiz competition winner has top 10. Congratulations again. We will take a few minutes to finalize the result, and after that, we will issue our online quiz competition certificates on our website and official Facebook page. Congratulations to our webinar online quiz competition winner has top 10. Congratulations again. We will take a few minutes to finalize the result, and after that, we will issue our online quiz competition certificates on our website and official Facebook page. Congratulations to our webinar online quiz competition winners top 10. Congratulations again. We will take a few minutes to finalize the result, and after that, we will issue our online quiz competition certificates on our website and official Facebook page. At the end of our session, we can say probably future skill never stop learning because life never stop teaching us. Be happy and stay safe. See you again and again if you want our participation in our review program. If you want to live a happy life tied to a goal, not to people or things. Albert Einstein. Before I say or hit the end like button, again it wants to thank all IGP knowledge seekers for your active participation as always. See you in the next session. Thank you.